clicked on this video thinking there'd be no spoilers for Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, I just want to let you know Grindelwald dies in the Deathly Hallows, chapter 23. Of course there are going to be spoilers for The Crimes of Grindelwald. And you might not have guessed this from the title, but I actually enjoyed it. And try not to forget that while watching this video, because I'm not making this video out of hatred. I'm making this video as a fan, providing genuine constructive criticism to explain why Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald is a bad film. And well, quite frankly, the Fantastic Beasts franchise will fail if they don't learn from their mistakes. Or should I say, learn from their crimes against cinema. Which, interestingly, there are more of than actual crimes Grindelwald commits in the film. Just thought I'd mention, he doesn't actually commit that many crimes, really. I think that might be an appropriate place to start. Crime 1. The film has absolutely nothing to do with the title. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. What crimes? He commits like 2. Like, please tell me if I missed something, but he breaks out of prison and then kills a few people, and that's literally it. Honestly, it actually makes me sad because I was so excited at the start when he commits the only crimes he commits in the entire film in the first 5 minutes. Because I thought that was gonna set the tone for the film, but it just doesn't. There were no flashbacks to crimes Grindelwald's committed in the past or stories to how he became this wanted dark wizard. It was quite the opposite, actually, and I even felt sorry for him and got where he was coming from at times. Like, he's definitely a more relatable villain than Voldemort. He shows remorse and describes himself as not merciless. And he makes the point that he doesn't hate muggles over and over again. But like, he commits hardly any crimes. And I'm not trying to belittle the crimes he committed. Don't kill people and break out of prisons. That's not a good thing to do. I'm just trying to say, how did they come to the conclusion that this was the best title for the film? Like, the film's hardly about him. I'd argue he isn't even the main villain. Canon has a more important part than him. At the end of the day, the film's all about the Lestrange family. Why didn't they call it Fantastic Beasts and the Lestrange Family Secret? Or Fantastic Beasts, the one where they all pick a side and that's all that happens in the entire film. Honestly, comment some improved titles down below. I want to make a full video just going through them. I think it'd be so funny. Right here, I'm grasping at straws complaining about the title, so I'm going to move on to my actual biggest problem with the film and the second crime, being that it just has absolutely no structure. Like, I remember during my first viewing, I was just like, wait, whoa, how did we get to the end? It's like they set a premise and then just jump to the end. And now, I'm not an expert writer or anything, but I did do English at school, and I remember when I was 10, I was taught about a 3-act structure to writing stories. As this diagram nicely shows, you have a setup where the film gets set up, a confrontation where the majority of the film usually takes place and builds up to the grand finale, and then the grand finale, or the climax. You know, ignore the climax for this film. I actually don't have a problem with it. On the contrary, I actually think it was quite good. I just didn't realize we'd got there yet. And like, obviously I don't go into a film thinking, oh, there's Act 1, so that must mark the start of Act 2, and nope, there's Act 3, we're into the finale. No one watches films like that. When there is a problem with a film structure, it's noticeable and can ruin the film, and well, that's the case with this film, because I think the diagram looks more like this. The first act, or the setup, was mostly spent reintroducing characters, as usually is the case with a sequel. We get Grindelwald escaping from custody, Newt's been banned from traveling, and then he's with Dumbledore, and then he's looking after his beasts, and then Queenie and Jacob arrive. We start to see where this first act might have been stretched out a little. Like, it takes 30 minutes for them to get to the circus and reveal what Credence, Nagini, and Tina are up to, and a further 10 minutes for Newt and Jacob to finally get to Paris. And by the time the premise has been set, Grindelwald's explained his plan, and everyone else is out on the search for Credence's family, the film's about half the way through, which is when I believe Act 2 begins. And crank up that nostalgia, because for what we lack in a middle section, we're just gonna give you flashback scenes at Hogwarts. And like, yeah, we get some insight into Dumbledore's and Lita's past, and we've got the whole thing with the Chinese beast. It's called a Zuu, apparently. Is that said in the film? I won't deny, I did like the scenes with the Zuu. It shows the films are still about Fantastic Beasts, and I really want them to remain about Fantastic Beasts rather than just turning it into a story about Dumbledore and Grindelwald. Don't sideline Newt. He's giving us Hufflepuff so much representation. Oh, did I just talk about representation as a straight white male? Oh my god, my career's over. And then everyone just sets off to the Lestrange family tomb, and you've reached the finale. Like, when Lita Lestrange was telling the story about how she killed her brother Corvus, I thought it was the middle of the film, but turns out it was basically the end. Like, if you could check how much longer a film was gonna last when you're in the cinema like you can with a YouTube video, maybe it wouldn't have been a problem, but newsflash, you can't do that making this bad storytelling. Okay, maybe that wasn't J.K. Rowling's intention when it came to the structure of the film, so I just went out and bought the script to see if she actually structured it into a few concise acts, and she hasn't. I also got it for half price 4 days after the book came out, so They must be selling really well. However, I'm not just gonna criticize the poor structure of this film because I think I know the reason why Act 1 was stretched out so much, and it can be traced back to 2016. A month before Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, J.K. Rowling confirmed that there were going to be 5 Fantastic Beasts movies spanning from 1926 to 1945. This was an increase from what we originally thought was a trilogy of films, and no one knew the reason why she decided to expand the story to 5. J.K. Rowling, of course, claimed that there was too large a story to tell to fit it into 3 films. But I don't know about you, if there's too much story to tell for 3 films, isn't the next step 4? But I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was just a huge story that needed 5 films to be told until it was announced that Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald was taking place in 1927. Specifically, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them took place in December 1926. Grindelwald was held in custody for 6 months by the accuser, and then the film takes place 3 months after this. Like, surely if you're telling a 5-part series spanning 19 years, there's gonna have to be more than 9 months between each film, right? And I think it really shows when it comes to The Crimes of Grindelwald, because I don't think there was actually that much story to tell, and to make up for the lack of a middle, they just stretched out the start. And I think that perfectly leads us on to the next crime. The film just felt unnecessary. Like, yeah, there are some important things that happen, including Credence being Dumbledore's brother, because that just fits perfectly with what we know about Dumbledore's family. You know, I don't really mind all that. It's kind of similar to The Last Jedi, where they just kind of went for shock value over everything else. But I mean, if you're gonna make an entire film about who Credence is and spend most of that film teasing the red herring that he's Corvus Lestrange, it's pretty unsatisfying when you just tell us who he is at the end without any explanation. There was also the big reveal that Dumbledore and Grindelwald made a blood pact, which I actually really liked because I think that's a pretty good explanation to why Dumbledore couldn't move against Grindelwald that isn't just, he loved him, boo-hoo. I like the fact it was snatched by the Niffler, a fantastic beast, and it creates the plot point of how to destroy it, which is kind of reminiscent of the Horcruxes. And I imagine finding out how to destroy it is gonna take some time, giving them some leeway to skip about 10 years for the next sequel, getting us right back on track for the 1945 finale. Which by the time that comes out, this film will probably be skippable because this was an entire film about picking sides. Like, if there has ever been a set-up film in the history of cinema, this is it. Imagine if they made a Captain America Civil War Part 1 where it was all about the Accords and superheroes being made illegal, and they rolled credits just as the airport scene was about to start. Because that's basically what this film is. It's Captain America Civil War Part 1. Again, seriously, comment improved titles for this film down below. I really want to make this video. And while we're talking about this film being all about everyone taking sides, Queenie's evil now. Because that just fits with her character perfectly. I'm sorry, but I genuinely hated this, and it commits the penultimate crime. The character developments are terrible. How can Queenie go from being a lovable, quirky flirt to joining Grindelwald's side? And I've seen so many people try and make claims like, oh, maybe she was under the Imperius curse or something. No. Even if that was the case, she still enchanted Jacob so he'd unknowingly, non-consensually be in a relationship with her. And I don't know about you, but that sounds kind of familiar. Someone's done that before. Oh yeah, Voldemort's mom has done that before. Like, you're watching 2 different characters if you watch these films side by side. Nagini is just completely irrelevant. I mean, I wouldn't have minded her having this minor part if she wasn't implied to be super important from the trailers, but I guess that's my fault for falling into their marketing scheme. She still has no memorable lines from the film though. I've seen it twice and I can remember a grand total of 1, and it's because I wrote it down when she says to Credence, purebloods kill us for sport, which resembles her character from Harry Potter very well. In all seriousness, she could have one of the best character arcs in the series, telling the story of how she got from this to that. But based on what we've been given so far, I have no faith it's gonna be done well. Throughout the entire film, there was only one character I actually thought was written well, and that's none other than Lita Lestrange. You kind of sympathize with her, but you also realize she's a bit of a... yeah. So much of the film was about her and her backstory, delving into her character, which is why I was very satisfied when they killed her off. But it doesn't even matter. There was a far worse crime committed by this film. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald goes against canon. And while I shouldn't say goes against canon, more they modified canon so their story makes sense. Firstly, we've got the whole Credence being a Dumbledore thing, which I'm just gonna leave for now because I think I need a whole video on that. The bigger problem for me was that J.K. Rowling wrote Minerva McGonagall into the story as a professor. Here are the facts. This film takes place in 1927, and McGonagall didn't start teaching at Hogwarts until 1956. We know this because in The Order of the Phoenix, when asked by Umbridge, how long have you been teaching at Hogwarts, she responds by saying, 39 years, this December. The Order of the Phoenix takes place in 1995, minus 39 years equals 1956. And before the film came out, it was also factual that McGonagall was born in 1935. And what I mean by they decided to change canon is that they literally just took the year she was born off Pottermore. No, I'm not joking, they're actually trying to cover it up. And It's just the most stupid thing. They didn't need to mention the teacher's name. It doesn't add anything to the film other than, oh, remember McGonagall from Harry Potter? She's here too! And this break of canon is annoying enough, but what's even more annoying is people are trying to defend J.K. Rowling and claim that it wasn't a mistake. It could have been a different McGonagall. It's not, though, because she's specifically described in the script as a young Minerva McGonagall. She could have used the time to... Nope, just stop. Canon-obsessed Harry Potter fans are so annoying. Yeah, sorry, it's such an annoying trait to like things to make sense. Stop defending her. I'm not saying reprimand her and send her abuse, but if you just let her off with something like this, she's not gonna learn from her mistake and might make an even bigger one in one of the future films. The whole thing with McGonagall is just bad, unnecessary fan service and a perfect example of just shoving nostalgia down people's throats to remind them how much they used to like Harry Potter. And while it's been shown in the past that people just love anything Harry Potter, except the tide seems to finally be turning. Despite the fact I believe Fantastic Beasts is the best post-Harry Potter official production, the reaction is finally negative. I don't know how it hasn't got less than 40% on Rotten Tomatoes considering how much is wrong with this film, but more notably, this film has got the worst audience score and has had the worst opening weekend in the history of Harry Potter. And while I believe this is exactly the response this film needed to get, I, as a Harry Potter fan who still has high hopes that this series can be something good, believe that this could be the turning point for Fantastic Beasts. And hopefully J.K. Rowling will take note and not just make another 2-hour film filled with cameos where nothing is really achieved just for the sake of making a 2-hour film for some quick cash. Because the rest of the series is gonna have to be so much better than this for it to succeed. Honestly, the hardest part about making YouTube videos is trying to find a creative way to ask for likes every video, and well, this is my creative way to ask for likes this video, so make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. You can go follow me on Twitter and Instagram and try and get me to 20,000 followers on Twitter, and subscribe to my channel by clicking here. You can watch another video by clicking here. You can check out my merch here and in the description down below. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thanks for watching. Yes, I got it. Satisfying.